Hello everyone, my name is Isaiah Godet, and I'm here to talk about when should prisoners of power be used, limited, or challenged. But first, I'm going to talk about the president and the members within the executive branch, so we can get a good idea about it. To even become president, you need to have formal qualifications. First, you must be a natural born citizen, at least 35 years old, and have been a resident in the US for at least 14 years. But there are informal qualifications that don't require you to have them, but it's good for you to have it to make yourself look better. That is past political or military experience, strong leadership skills, high charisma, and immense fundraising ability are just a few informal qualifications for presidents to have. Now, the president can't stay in office forever. That's why they're limited to 2 terms that are 4 years each. This is to prevent them from becoming a dictatorship or a monarchy. And the 22nd Amendment limits the US president to 2 terms. And the 25th Amendment defines presidential succession, which means in case the president somehow becomes unfit for office, the vice president would be the first in line to become president. And if that happens to the vice president, then the Speaker of the House becomes the next president. And then it would be the president of the Senate, which is the pro tempore. And then after that, it'll follow the line of creation of the cabinets, like whenever they were created. So it starts with the Secretary of State, then the Treasury, then War, then so forth, all the way to Homeland Security. Now, if the president does something illegal, then that starts the process of impeachment and removal from office. In Article 1 and 2 of the Constitution, it involves a 2-step process. The House of Representatives hold the sole power to investigate and impeach with a simple majority, which is more than enough, while the Senate conducts the trial, which requires a 2/3 vote for conviction and removal from office. But only 3 presidents have been impeached so far. The first was Andrew Johnson, who was impeached in 1868, Bill Clinton in 1998, and Donald Trump twice in 2019 and 2021. But all of them have only been impeached by the House and not the Senate. The first time a president could have been impeached could have been Richard Nixon, but he resigned before he got impeached. Because if he did, then that would have looked terrible. No one wants to be the first president to be impeached. The Electoral College system is used to elect the president and vice president of the United States. Consisting of 538 electors that's based on the population sizes of the state. A candidate needs a majority of 270 electoral votes to win. Determined through a state-level winner-takes-all system, when a candidate wins the popular vote. The amendments that are related to the system are the 12th Amendment that separates the ballots from president and vice president to prevent ties between candidates within the same party, and the 23rd Amendment that grants the District of Columbia, which is Washington, D.C., the right to vote for electors. Now, question. Is the Electoral College still effective in modern democracy? It's kind of a hard answer to say, because at first glance, no, because it makes the popular vote ineffective. But there are some pros to the Electoral College, like it protects the smaller states and ensures they are not ignored by the high population areas. It also gives a definitive outcome of who wins the vote. It reduces the likelihood of a nationwide recount, which is very difficult to do and manage. It also limits voter fraud and isolates that fraud into one state rather than impacting the nation's. Cons to the Electoral College is the popular vote disparity, which means the candidate can win the popular vote but still lose the election, like it happened in 2000 and 2016. It also makes candidates focus on swing states rather than safe states, because swing states can be either or. But safe states, they kind of get ignored because they already know the outcome. And also, it depresses voter turnout. Like voters in safe red and blue states, like I said, they feel like their vote don't matter. So it just leads to a lower turnout and they don't really vote because they already know the outcome. Also discourages third-party candidates because it's very difficult for a third-party candidate to gain electoral votes. So we're just forced to use a two-system party, which George Washington didn't want. So very rarely, electors can theoretically vote against the popular will of their state if they want. No. Now, the president has many roles to play as the leader of the United States. Like they're the chief executive, commander-in-chief, chief diplomat, chief legislator, chief of state, chief of party, not that kind of party, chief administrator, and chief of citizen. Now, there are different types of bureaucracies in the government. First of all, executive agencies that implement specific policies based on their department and functions under presidential control outside of cabinet departments. Examples like their Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, or NASA. Independent regulatory agencies act as watchdogs that regulate specific parts of the economy or large industries with little political interference. They are independent of presidential control and possess quasi-legislative and quasi-judicial powers. Examples include Securities and Exchange Commission and Federal Communications Commission. Government corporations provide services like a business that are imported by the president that get their money from within their services. There are 23 cabinet members that are under the president's rule. This includes a vice president, heads of 15 executive departments, and 7 cabinet-level officials that advise the president on any subject they may require within their respective fields. Like this Department of Finance helping the president with the economy, or the Department of War help advise the president on how to conduct wars and such. The United States foreign policy employs a mix of diplomatic, economic, and military tools to advance national interests, ranging from soft power to direct intervention. Key tools include diplomacy, foreign aid, sanctions, and military action. These are often aimed at fostering stability, security, and economic opportunity. The impacts vary from fostering allies, triggering retaliatory trade conflicts, sanctions to limit a nation's growth, and military intervention if all fails and we have to go to war. Now, I hope you remember the question I told you at the beginning. When should presidential power be used, limited, or challenged? Well, to answer that directly, the powers of the president should be used to enforce laws and lead in crises. But it should be limited and challenged when it encroaches on the legislative authority of Congress, violates the Constitution, or seeks to place the executive branch above the law. That's it. That's all. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Bye.